and a very warm welcome to ECIS Talks. The title of our ECIS podcast today is Amplifying Student Voice, Lessons from Students Who Lead. Now, Sarah Kupke, the Head of Professional Learning here at ECIS, is chatting with students and faculty supporters from the International School of Helsinki. And we look forward to being inspired by these young voices and their commitment to making a difference through their learning.
Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by students from the International School of Helsinki, Annie, Diana, and Carolina, and two of their teachers, Rachel Thrash and Katie Allen. So firstly, thank you so much for joining us to share about your learning. Rachel Thrash is from the ISH, International School of Helsinki, and Ellen Hating from Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, have developed an online course for ECIS entitled Cultivating Connections That Matter, a toolkit for transformational teaching. Throughout the year, ECIS hosts open forums with Rachel and Ellen for interested educators to share and explore their facilitation of learning, which challenges students to develop their own meaningful answers to real-world questions. So the title of our ECIS podcast today is Amplifying Student Voice, Lessons from Students Who Lead. An authentic vehicle for student voice can be the engine of restorative justice and well-being in a school. Beginning in 2020, students at the International School of Helsinki gathered as a small student equity group in response to Black Lives Matter. The momentum they generated and the support they received from the school allowed their initiative to evolve into a movement for broad, impactful student leadership, which they named the Student Voice Commission. So Annie, Diana, and Carolina, what motivated your group to begin meeting together?
I think, as you said, the Black Lives Matter movement kind of brought a lot of people together, a lot of people who wanted to take action and who were passionate about making a difference. And that was a big motivator in getting the first meetings started and understanding the reasons that we all wanted to meet and what we all wanted to get out of such an equity group. I think that was kind of where we started off.
I think teacher support as well played a large role in this because the idea of the meeting in the first place was initiated by Ms. Thrash, and I think that provided a catalyst for a lot of students who shared passion for the same issues and just topics to come together.
And I think what enabled us to continue with the Student Voice Commission was the fact that we recognized as students that there was an absence of proper student leadership in the school that functioned effectively. So that's what kind of motivated us to continue with this work.
Wonderful. So that inspiration coming that was leading also from what you you felt was perhaps a gap in what was already there. So developing a vision, what was your vision when you first met as a group? Where did you want to go?
I think as a group, we wanted to have a functioning student leadership in the school. And from the Black Lives Matter group, that then became STAND, that was the equity group of the school, we kind of structured it in a way that we have different smaller committees within that. And then we realized that there's also an absence of student leadership in other areas of the school, for example, when we're organizing social events. So that's when we kind of wanted to create a functioning structure for student leadership.
And did you have any obstacles when you were initiating this student leadership?
I mean, I think a clear obstacle when dealing with a high school population is kind of motivating some students to want to participate and have their voice heard, because when you mix in extracurricular activities and academics and all of these other responsibilities that we have to deal with, it seems like a bit of a hassle. But I think by kind of publicizing this as something that you can take part in, not just as a further academic responsibility, but something that you might find passion in really encouraged a lot of the students to want to participate in this activity.
Thank you. Yeah. And so what were you building from? What other models of leadership existed, student leadership existed at the International School of Helsinki prior to your redesign? And how's your new model then different?
So originally we had a student council at the school, and it followed some of the same guidelines in regards to when you look at student well-being and social events. So we were inspired by the structure of how that functioned, having some leaders and having staff supporting the groups themselves. And we took from that and we made sure that there was a way we can have efficient communication within the groups themselves. And we had that role be a student as a community liaison for each committee. And we kind of just built on that idea of ensuring that we had support from a teacher, we had leaders who could really get the group motivated to work on different activities, as well as having efficient communication to ensure that everyone was working towards something and using their time most effectively, let's say.
Yeah, very interesting. And was the school able to support you in particular ways in order to be able to develop this model?
We took part in a leadership retreat as a group where multiple students could join who showed interest in leadership. And I think this was very important for us as a group and as leaders as well, because that enabled us to really understand where the absence of leadership is in the school and what the students want, and that enabled us to cater for the students' needs and kind of create the different committees that we have today. And that was obviously provided by teachers' support.
Additionally, we had a lot of places where we could have our voice heard. So we were provided class times and advisories to ask the students directly what they felt should be worked on here in student leadership. And anytime we had to share a message, we had teachers who could publicize the message either in our DP weeklies or through like managed back messages that could get to the entire student body. So having that channel for communication was really helpful.
Thank you. So some of the strategies that you put in place have been supported by your school and your teachers and the systems that you're putting in place in your school. What would you say have been the things that you've learned about your capacity to lead other students?
I would say that once you feel comfortable with the people you have in a group, and once you know that you have a passion in a specific matter, it can lead you like really far. Like I found that I have good capabilities when it comes to leading a group into doing something that I think is meaningful, not only to our community, but globally. So I think it taught like a lot of people within the SVC that you have a voice and you can have it be heard if you put some effort into like taking those steps. So you just it needs courage, but you can get there and it makes a huge difference to a lot of people.
This sounds really empowering for you as students, and also you're modeling that kind of leadership for future students, as it were. How do you think this experience will impact your future leadership endeavors yourselves?
I think I've learned a lot from this experience, and I've learned also that I'm capable of leading in situations that seem difficult and seem sort of impossible at times. And people do respect you as long as you kind of show initiative. And I think in the future that's very important if you're leading, for example, if you're in a manager role or even in university when you have to take part in different activities, just being able to kind of listen and learn from others, but also lead through that.
It's empowering to know that when we put ourselves in leadership positions, something might change and there might be a difference, right? And so if you look back on what you've been doing and you look forward, what do you think the difference in your school, what do you think the difference has been?
I mean, I think we've definitely noticed a lot more willingness from the student body to actually speak up about concerns and ideas they have. There's been a huge increase in interest in student leadership in the first place, because before it was slightly like there was disinterest from the school population, because as I mentioned previously, there's so many other responsibilities that students have to deal with. But
and so that this will have an effect on the future of your group and of the school community, right? What makes the sort of things that you're talking about through your leadership, what makes that sustainable? You know, how do you make the changes that you're looking for through your leadership lasting, so that they're not just because our school, international school populations are often mobile and changing. How do you try to make the changes that you set within your school sustainable?
I would say that there's a lot of different factors that play into that. So one was, like we talked about, the structure that you implement within your school community. It has to be a very strong one. It has to be flexible as well, because as you said, the student body is constantly changing. And you also have to make sure that you have trust between the teachers as well as the students, and that has to be a long-lasting relationship of trust, because with that you build these connections and you make sure that you're like constantly building on the community that you already have, as well as the ideas that you're putting into the school. And also just making sure that you're constantly giving this passion back to the students. You have to have a common goal, essentially. And I think that what we found is that we have now the power to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves and give a voice to people who have been silenced in the past. And I think that that can really motivate students as well as teachers to continue this work for years to come. I mean, that's the hope anyways.
Because it's changing systems, and it's systemic thinking, and your empowering voice here. This is so important. How do you think this is impacting perhaps mental health in your own school community, and may have implications for other schools?
Okay. I think that if you allow people to express some concerns on both the institution itself and how things are kind of carried out, it allows for the students to feel safer in the environment they're in. We have some friends who did express concerns with a few issues that happened at school, and through trying to sort them out with the teachers as well as like other people in the school, it really helps them feel safe in who they're surrounded by. And I think that impacts the well-being of the students as a whole, because if you don't feel safe going to school, that's a huge issue in itself. And you have to start there. You have to make sure that they want to go to school, that they feel that they are able to express their concerns and know that once they have expressed them, they will be considered and there will be a solution for them that will be like approached in a delicate way.
So as we're coming towards the end of the time that we're going to be talking together, I'm going to put a last question to you and then a last question to your teachers. What suggestions do you have for other students interested in re-envisioning student leadership in their schools? Out of what you've learned from your initiative, what would your advice be to students in other schools?
I think it's very important that you, as students, feel comfortable having good channels of communication with your teachers as well when you're trying to establish student leadership in the school, because teachers should be acting as facilitators and not kind of the dominant leaders in these groups. And also, I think students need to realize that, as cliche as it sounds, you do have power and you can have a voice in the school as long as you take action. And that's what we saw. There were a few people who realized there are issues that we haven't dealt with and we need to talk about them. And now we've established this entire leadership structure. So it's really important to realize the potential.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And that is all about making those connections and establishing that trust within a community, giving everybody a sense of belonging so that we don't fear conflict, but that we embrace conflict and see what can come out of it instead of what we have now. So Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask now, perhaps a question then to your teachers, whether they have any suggestions for the administration or the teachers in the school.
I think establishing up front that you're a facilitator and not the arbiter of everything that happens. So we have had a very clear communication from the beginning that if we're building student leadership, it's for them and their voice needs to be heard. And I am here and Katie is here and the other faculty members who are part of this initiative are here to let them see what they're capable of and to open their minds up to, yes, you can be on a podcast, for instance. You can contact a branding agency and have them help you figure out how to get the word out and make your logo and we want to help you. And so we've really moved away from them asking me permission to rather them seeking advice when they want it.
And I guess the piece that I would add is just how impactful and how meaningful it can be to really ask students for their opinions and to get their perspectives on different models of, well-being and inclusion and leadership. It's just to really, for the advice for the adults would be to stay open, that our youth have so much to offer us and so much to teach the adults. And that it is really, really inspiring once you create that opportunity for youth.
I would also say be prepared to get a lot of opinions in a really good way. Since we've started this initiative, we'll have students come up to us and say, I think you need to be aware of this happening in the community. And then we can reach out and help and support them. And it's vital that we have those open chains of communication. And I've worked at schools in the past where that didn't happen. We would find out something had happened that was connected to mental health or equity and justice long after we could make an impact on it. And now we can partner with students to make our school a safer, more equitable place. And that in and of itself is the reason why you do this work.
Absolutely. And it's most impressive to hear what a difference it's making in your school, what a difference it's making to you as young people, and the impact that it will continue to have on the ways in which you seek out and work within leadership in the years to come. Annie, Diana, Carolina, thank you very, very much. Carolina, thank you very, very much indeed for sharing with us today. I think this will be inspirational to other schools, other faculty, facilitators, and also students. And so also to Rachel and Katie, thank you very much for your time today, and goodbye for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's about all we have time for today. We very much hope that you enjoyed the first ECIS Talks podcast. We'll be back with more podcasts very soon. Just to let you know, if you're interested in ECIS events, simply visit ecis.org/events. You can have a look at the full calendar. Also, ecis.org/courses if you'd like to have a look at some courses for your professional development. If you're not an ECIS member school, simply visit ecis.org/school to look at our membership benefits. Thanks very much for now, and we look forward to seeing you soon.